third time's a charm, maybe. I am not getting my words out very well, so I keep having to redo the video. But I'm going to talk about the different types of depression because there's a whole bunch of them. I have like 8 pages of notes. I'm going to try to get through this quickly and where you can understand it. If I have time and if it doesn't go too long, I'll go over some of the treatments for it. If it ends up being super long, then I'll just wait and do that one in a second video. So the main one, which is what I have, is MDD. It's major depressive disorder, also called major depression or clinical depression. It is shown with symptoms of feeling of sadness, emptiness, worthlessness, hopelessness, guilt, low self-esteem, poor concentration, over or under eating, physical pain, loss of energy, loss of interest, change in sleeping habits, thoughts of death, and suicide. It is diagnosed with if you have 5 or more of the symptoms for at least for 2 weeks or more. Mine have been going on for years, and I have had pretty much all of those, mostly at the same time. So it's there's 2 subtypes of MDD. One is atypical depression, which is most commonly found in young people. It is an intense sensitivity to rejection, strong reactive moods, that's me, sleep and eat a lot, but that can go the other way also, fatigue, which is tiredness, weakness, and just an overall feeling of being weighed down. The other one is melancholic depression. Would be trouble sleeping, focusing mostly on guilt-ridden thoughts, and it's most common in seniors. There are so many. It's just like, it's so sad, really, because there's so many different ones, and so many people just think, oh, I'm just this way. This is just how I am. Like, well, you don't have to be. And that's the positive part. You don't have to be. Another type, hold on. Okay. So another type of depression is PDD, which is persistent depressive disorder. There's another word for it, but I don't have any idea how to say it. This one, you have a low, dark, sad mood more often than not, plus at least 2 of the other symptoms that I just mentioned for 2 or more years. So that would be in my area too. Another one, which us ladies understand and get, is PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or a very severe form of PMS. Depression, sadness, anxiety, irritability, and other extreme symptoms in the week before the period. And its cause is because our bodies are super sensitive to the hormone changes. It's like we're girls. Our body should know what to do. It should be used to that, but it doesn't. One of the things that you can do for that is take antidepressants, specifically the SSRIs, the 2 weeks before your cycle or all month. Sometimes birth control with the hormones will also help. Even though I am on antidepressants and birth control, I still have issues that week before cycle time. Another big one, bipolar disorder. It's also called manic depressive disorder. It goes with extreme mood swings, unexplained aches and pains, which I think that's the most frustrating one. Like, you have all these aches and pains and you're just hurting, and medication doesn't help. Like Tylenol, ibuprofen stuff, it doesn't work. It doesn't make any difference. And I think that's one of the most frustrating parts. Also a part that people don't understand. There's also irritability, indecision, disorganization. An interesting fact that I saw was that people with bipolar disorder are 15 times more likely to commit suicide than the general population. And that's just, like, that's a huge number. Another thing that was interesting, it's a lot of times depression is mostly diagnosed in women. I don't know if that's because we're the ones willing to get help for it or if we're just more prone to it, but bipolar disorder is equally diagnosed in both men and women. Men tend to be more manic and the women tend to be more depressive. And it usually gets worse without treatment. The next one is called disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. It's mostly diagnosed in kids who struggle with regulating their emotions. A lot of screaming and temper tantrums, irritability or angry mood most of the day, nearly every day. I would say that that's probably my older son, because depression and stuff often runs in family. But his seems to only be when he's around me, so I don't know. Another big one for us ladies is postpartum depression. 1 in 4 women get it, and 1 in 8 men get it, which I didn't know men would have postpartum. It can be affected within the first year after a birth. For women, it's triggered by the sudden change in the hormones and the fatigue, the tiredness, and all that stuff that goes along with having a new baby. And the men, it's triggered by all the changes around him, the lifestyle change, the role change, like everything that's changing when it comes to having a baby. Another one that is interesting is seasonal affective disorder, also called SAD. It's a reoccurring type of depression, usually during the fall or winter. It's most common in women and children, and it also often runs in the family. A lot of it can be because there isn't the sunshine, and it's just like the cabin fever, except it's depression form. My mom has this quite a bit. Like, they had talked about moving up north, and my dad was just like, no, I don't think your mom could handle that because it's often cloudy, rainy. My mom needs the sunshine. Substance-induced mood disorder, using or abusing drugs. It can appear shortly after taking the drugs or during withdrawal, and it can also be caused by prescription medication. All right, psychotic depression. This is depression with psychosis, or when someone loses touch with reality. It often includes hallucinations and or delusions. Hallucinations are seeing or hearing things that aren't there. Delusions are false beliefs about what is happening. They are most often helped with antidepressants and antipsychotic medications together. There's also depression due to illness. So like people who are coping with a chronic disease like heart disease, cancer, MS, HIV, AIDS, just having to deal with that often leads to depression. And it can also be caused by disease-related swelling. Like with my mom, she has a brain tumor, and that brain tumor right now is swelling due to the radiation that she had. That has caused a big change in her mood, and she's crying all the time and everything like that, and she's already prone to depression. Like she's had clinical depression most of her life. Medications can help with this, as well as other therapies, talking about what's going on. But it can also, like, it's not just that they're sad, that they're sick. It can be side effects of the medication that they're having to take. This one, I don't know how to say it. Cyclosmic, I think, disorder. It's similar to bipolar disorder, but on a slightly smaller scale. It's more milder, but it's also more chronic than bipolar. Which this is possibly me before meds. I'm not 100% sure, but it's possible. They have less severe mania. The highs last for a time before returning to baseline. And during the lows, they feel mildly depressed. And then in between those highs and lows, they just feel like themselves, like they're okay. But when they're in those highs and lows, it interferes with the daily life and your relationships. Another one is situational depression, or also called adjustment disorder. Depression triggered by a stressful or life-changing event. And this one is actually more common than MDD, the major depression. This one, since it's situational, is you don't necessarily need medication. Talk therapy would probably work great, but it's okay if you decide that you do need the medication for that period of time, which I've known a lot of people who have done that. So now that those are the main ones. Well, I should say those are the ones that I found during my research. So there are so many medications and treatment options for people with depression, any of these. First medication is SSRIs. I'm not even going to pretend like I know how to say what they are, but this one is selective serotonin something inhibitors. These are considered safer and generally have less side effects than some of the other ones, and it's probably the most common that is prescribed from doctors. I have had 2 of these. I've taken Celexa and I have taken Zoloft. Zoloft is what I am on right now, and so far so good. There are also SNRIs, serotonin something inhibitors. I don't know what they're called. I don't know. They're like this long of words. The example of that one that I have taken was Effexor, which was the medication I was on previous to this one that I'm on right now. Those tend to have a little bit more side effects, and those are definitely you don't want to stop any of your medication cold turkey, but definitely not those ones. There are also atypical antidepressants. Those are ones that don't fit in either category. And the one that I tried with that fits into that category is Wellbutrin. My mom was on Wellbutrin forever, and somebody else that I know is trying it. You never know what'll work. There is also tricyclic antidepressants. I'm not sure how to say that word. They can be effective, but they have a lot of side effects and more severe side effects. They are normally not prescribed at all unless you have already tried SSRIs without having improvement. There are MAOIs, which are monoamine oxidase inhibitors. I have no idea if I said that right. Again, they're only used when other medications have not worked. They have serious side effects, and they're diet restrictive because they have dangerous or deadly side effects with certain foods. There are some newer ones that are made that are a patch, which have been said to have less side effects. So who knows? Maybe it would work. You have to take a lot of time to find what medication works for you. I have been on this medicated journey, 2 years, maybe? I don't even remember how long it's been. But roughly 2 years, I'm on my 4th medication, and it's like it takes time. You have to figure out what is working for your body and what doesn't, or what side effects you can live with, what you can't. Inherited traits play a big role in what medication will work for you. For some things, there's genetic testing that you can do to see what will be beneficial and what will work for your body. There are risks to stopping your medication or skipping some. Your body becomes dependent on it. It's a drug, but it becomes dependent on it because it is using what it is giving you to balance yourself out. So when you stop taking it all of a sudden, or you miss some, like your body's like, wow, what's happening? Because it's all out of whack again. It can cause your depression to worsen, and it can give you physical withdrawal symptoms. When I was on the Effixor, that one, you definitely cannot stop all of a sudden. Like you get, well, for me, I got super, super sick to my stomach, really dizzy to where I couldn't even like stand up and stuff. It was not fun. Then of course, pregnancy and breastfeeding, you have to be very careful because you don't want to take something that is going to harm your child. So make sure you are discussing with your doctor, because we want healthy mommies bring healthy babies, and you have to be mentally healthy, because having a baby is so stressful and the hormones are ridiculous that like you really need to be mentally balanced to be able to handle it well and to raise a happier, healthier baby, which is a huge difference because I was not mentally healthy with my first one. I actually wasn't mentally healthy with my second one either, but I was getting there. And I'm a much better mom now that I am more level than I was before. Also, another important reason to monitor yourself and be aware of yourself during medications is because some of them make things worse. So you have to know yourself. There are many other options too. You don't have to be medicated. You can try psychotherapy, which is talking with a trained professional. They can help you learn to cope and deal with whatever is going on, especially if it's environmental reasons and things going on that are causing your depression. I know for me, it helps, but I know that it is physical. I know it's something in my body that is not sitting properly. Nowadays, there is even online alternatives. You don't have to go and sit face to face to talk to someone. I think that's really beneficial for people who deal with social anxiety and stuff like that. There are also, of course, the hospital or residential treatment facilities. A hospital stay might be necessary if it's bad enough that you're not able to care for yourself, or you're potentially a harm to yourself or somebody else. It might be necessary to go into a hospital to get out of the environment that you're in and get yourself correct. There's also day treatments, group therapies, whatever. Now, for people that have tried medications and it doesn't work, there's a couple of options. Electroconvulsive therapy. Yes, it is as scary as it sounds. Basically, it's electrical currents that are passed through your brain to impact the function and affect the neurotransmitters. It's usually for people who don't get better with medication or for people who can't take medication because of health reasons. I have thought about trying it. I'm not sure if it would be something effective for me, especially with my headaches. I feel like I just need to get zapped and get things back in order, but I've never tried it. TMS is also an option. It's transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's also an option for people that medication doesn't work on. A coil is placed against your scalp, and it sends brief magnetic pulses to stimulate your nerve cells. I've not heard of anybody that has tried this. It'd be interesting to see how it works. Other options for us would be mind and body connections, acupuncture, meditation, guided imagery, relaxation techniques like yoga and tai chi, massage therapy, that kind of thing. I know one of my friends has used yoga and that has helped a lot with irritability and anger. I would love to do acupuncture because I know that could help with the physical side of depression, but also with the mental and everything else. But it's not covered, and it's expensive, I think. All right, coping and support. Simplify your life. Cut back on your obligations when you are feeling down. Do not continue if you're not in it. You're allowed to have a personal day. You're allowed to take time out to get well. Write in a journal. This allows you to be completely open and honest and blunt without any judgment, and you can get it all off your chest. Self-help books, websites, local support groups. Don't isolate yourself, because that really doesn't help. Sometimes it does, though, because people are stupid. Just saying. Sometimes structuring your time helps. Plan out your days so you don't have that idle time where you can't, like, you don't have anything going on, so you're just kind of in your thoughts, because sometimes that just makes things worse. And don't make important decisions when you are down, because you end up making a choice that you otherwise would not, and it makes things difficult, and you often will regret it. I know I've made a lot of poor decisions when I was unhealthy, and there's a price to pay for those. So I hope you guys learned some stuff, and I'll put all my sources in the description box, and if you fall into one of these categories, don't be afraid to reach out. There are plenty of things and plenty of people willing to help, and there are so many options of ways to get help. So don't waste any time, because it is so worth it. Do you see this smile? I used to not have it because I was so angry and hateful, and not like hateful to other people, but hateful inside, dark and heavy, like just stormy. Really, that's probably the best description I've come up with so far. It's stormy inside, internal storm all the time. I remember when I first started taking the Celexa, which was the first medication I tried, I honestly felt like a huge cloud had been lifted off, and I was able to see the sunshine again. And I can't even express how much of a difference that made. So don't waste time, because it's worth it.